Hey guys, I'm Angela and welcome back to Hobby Night. I brought you out to the Hobby Night workshop because I have an extra special project in store for you today. I'm going to show you how to turn these into these. And before we get to the physical labor part of this build, let me go ahead and hand you off to the Chaos Cultist so he can show you how to get this project prepped in the computer.
You'll first need to acquire a 3D model of the weapon you want to print. Now, I don't know about you, but I'm not actually very experienced in 3D modeling software. Thankfully, there are a plethora of talented artists on sites like Cult 3D, Thingiverse, or My Mini Factory creating very similar but legally distinct models of Warhammer weapons for both cosplay and tabletop. We're going to be using the plasma pistol from Riverside Mini's Imperial Guard weapons pack. So shout out to them for providing weapons without the hands already attached to the miniature. Having finished downloading the files, I opened Bambu Studio by Bambu Labs, which reminds me about this video's sponsor.
No one is sponsoring today's episode. Because you see, about a month ago, a marketing representative on behalf of Bambu Labs reached out to me going, hey, they want to send you a printer, and the Chaos Cultist and I were super excited about that. Jumped at the opportunity, sent them a response, and then waited and waited. And it turns out they ghosted us. So you might be going, Angela, then why do you have a 3D printer sitting right next to you? Well, that is because the Chaos Cultist and I were so excited about this opportunity that we decided, you know what? We're just gonna go down to our local micro center and we're just going to spend the money ourselves and buy one at full price, which is exactly what we did. So the only sponsors of today's episode are those of you that are supporters of the channel. Whether you are a Patreon member, a YouTube member, a OnlyFans subscriber, a Fansly subscriber, or wherever you're watching it, you guys are the reason that I have this printer today. So thank you very much. Now, let me hand you back to the Chaos Cultist.
In Bambu Studio, I'm going to import the plasma pistol model by clicking the Add command and selecting the pistol's STL file. Once it is in the scene, I'm going to make sure I have the model selected and click the Scale command to embiggen it to real-life scale. How large you scale your prop will depend somewhat on the model you're using because there are artists who like their Warhammer weapons to be comically large, but the size of your hands is also a major thing to consider. For Angela's smaller hands, I found scaling up Warhammer miniature weapons by 2200% works, while my own require about 2800. Having scaled the weapon up by 22 times, it's now time to get to slicing. With the pistol selected, click the Cut command. This will preview how the model will be cut by showing the two halves in bright neon colors. I'm going to rotate the cut plane 90 degrees on the x-axis to bifurcate the weapon straight down the middle. Now, depending on the orientation of your imported model, you may have to rotate along a different axis, or possibly none at all. What is important is the weapon is cut cleanly in half from top to bottom like you see here. Clicking Perform Cut will split the prop in half, and we can now position this for printing after adding a second build plate to the scene. Now please note, props larger than a small pistol are going to need to be cut up additional times to fit on the printer bed. You'll want to make sure you slice along areas that lack much fine detail and along areas with a lot of surface area to allow proper gluing later. This is an example of a las gun we plan to build later this month. Your cut model will look something like this, with one part oriented differently from the other. To fix this, just press the Auto Orient button followed by the Arrange All Objects button so the two halves are positioned on the two plates for printing. If any of your parts are too big for the build plate, they will be placed separately from your other parts, and you may receive an error message. The only settings left are to enable tree supports with the default settings to help the barrels print correctly, and set the print layer height profile to the 0.16 optimal profile. After that, it's sent off to the workshop for about 10 hours of printing.
After you've printed all your pieces, it's time to prep them for joining. The prints are going to have this rough but rather slick texture on the bottom where they were touching the print plate, which is not the best for gluing, so you will want to rough it up first. Now, PLA dust is not something that you want to breathe in, so make sure you put on some appropriate PPE equipment before beginning. In this case, all I needed was a mask. Oh, and don't forget to escort any adorable but unwanted guests, such as any pets or children, out of the room as well, for their own safety. There we go. Kita has left the room, and with the workshop door closed, I am ready to begin. The inside of the barrel had some supports attached still, so I grabbed my deburring tool, a fancy and cheaper mold line remover tool you can pick up at any hardware store, and used it to scrape off the extra PLA chunks. I used a hand file next to aggressively rough up the flat surfaces where the two halves would join, making sure both the edges and center were all lightly sanded. You could also use sandpaper to do this. I did attempt to use a large piece of sandpaper positioned flat on my workbench myself, but it wasn't the most comfortable for me, so I switched to the hand file instead. With the sanding complete, I used a handheld air compressor to blow off any remaining PLA dust so that I had a clean surface to next add glue to. When gluing the prints together, you only need to apply glue to one half of your print. It's important to dab glue along the entire edge of the model, as well as smearing some glue in the center. Now, some of you might be screaming at me, Angela, why are you wasting expensive Citadel glue on this? And well, it's because this glue bottle has been sitting half used in my glue box for 4 years, and I wanted something that wasn't going to kick immediately so that I had time to make sure that this glue up was perfect. Once the glue is down, you can then press the two halves together. Be careful to make sure to line up the two halves well because you are going to need to add clamps to hold the prop together while the glue sets for at least 12 hours. This is what mine looked like. Once the glue is cured, the prop is ready for the next step, gap filling. I don't know if it was because of my sanding or just that my print was slightly uneven, but I have a small gap at the seam that I want to fill, and to do that I'm going to be using wood filler. This is a trick that I picked up by watching 501st Armor builds, and I have to say this stuff is amazing. It dries without expanding and can be sanded. Which is why, despite originally only intending to use it to even out the seam, I kind of went crazy with the stuff. Because you see these layer lines on the original print were really obvious. I wanted to attempt to even them out by smearing even more wood filler all over them. Well, that's exactly what I did, and frankly, I think the next time I might go even more heavy-handed with the filler. I did need to give the wood filler several hours to dry before I began hand sanding, and sanding it did require, especially in the plasma coils on the top. But by the time I was done, I already had a pretty smooth prop. And we're going to make it even smoother with the first of many coats of Rust-Oleum filler primer by taking it outside to the new exclusive Hobby Night spray booth. This stuff works wonders at filling in any remaining gaps and can also be wet sanded to reduce dust, which I spent a fair amount of time doing. At this point, I was in a flow. Prime the prop, let it dry for 24 hours, sand it, and repeat until the prop was buttery smooth. Done! And oh my god, just look at them. I am so gosh darn pleased with how these first two props have turned out, and it has me incredibly encouraged to try something bigger, like a lasgun, or a chainsword, or a helmet, pauldrons, an entire Sister of Battle outfit. Like, let's go. Let's get me some armor, bro. I am so ready. Like, I cannot tell you how much fun the Chaos Cultist and I have been having with the 3D printer. It has been a total game changer. It's going to up my cosplay game. It's going to just up the game, I think, in everything that I'm doing because it's helped with organization. I get to make cool props now, and I genuinely cannot get over how just good this feels in my hand. Like, it's smooth, it's very comfortable for me to hold on to. I have never been one of those people to like necessarily bring props and like especially weapons to conventions because I just find it to be a hassle, but you're gonna see me at a con with one of these, probably this one actually. I have a lot of ideas. Oh, I have a lot of ideas for my Dark Eldar character. Oh yes, I do. But you're probably gonna see me at a con with these at some point, probably other props as well. I wanna make an OMNISSIAH axe. I wanna do all sorts of things. So if you guys have enjoyed today's video, please make sure to like and subscribe so you don't miss future content. And if you want to help me continue to be able to afford filament and possibly even get in a future printer down the line, make sure to join my YouTube memberships or become a patron, or if you're into the spicier stuff.
Hype the video. There's that new feature as well. Don't forget
Oh yes,
hype the video.
yes, hype the video. This is a new feature I have not really explored that much, but if you see this, if you're watching this on mobile, hype it, because that really helps us out too. That's YouTube's new thing. So anything you can do to help us out, we very much appreciate it. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'm done rambling about my awesome props. I'm gonna go get them. Well, they're actually already prepped for paint. You can expect to see that in some live streams coming up soon, so make sure to subscribe. All right, guys, see you next time. Bye.